Because of Hollywood, many of you are familiar with the term close encounters of the third kind. But many of you may not know that there are more evolutions of the close encounters. Tonight, we're going to discuss that with our guest, CE5 contact Lily Nova joins us. Her remarkable journey began during the COVID pandemic when UFOs started appearing in her space photography sessions. And determined to uncover the truth, Lily documented these encounters, leading to a profound relationship with otherworldly beings. They taught her cosmic mysteries, how to initiate contact, and how to unlock her psychic and healing abilities. That's next, right here on the very best in paranormal talk radio. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time. It's good to be back with you. I know we missed last Wednesday's show due to my illness, but I am back in the saddle, and we've got a great show for you tonight. You know, doing the show over a period of 18 years, I've been approached by many people that claim to be channels and channels to otherworldly presence. It's always been a tough sell for me to try to understand that. And to be honest with you, in some cases that I have spoken to these people, I haven't really felt that there was anything that evolved from that conversation that showed any real insight or anything deeper into the realms that we're so fascinated with here. And that's not to put them on the spot. I wouldn't know what it would sound like if an alien was truly channeling through someone anyway, or a higher superior power. But once in a while, you get a message or you see something that comes out and you realize, now this looks fascinating. And to me, that's what happened when I saw this book, Contact, an incredible true story of contact with beings from another world and spiritual awakening. Lily Nova is the author of this book and the experiencer, and she's agreed to join us for the next hour to talk about her experiences and the unbelievable, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all, but the unbelievable contact that she's been able to have and continue to build upon. This is something that many of you have talked to me about over the years. And one of the biggest questions I have, especially if you've watched the Ghost Adventures episode where we went to the Stardust Ranch and I claimed that I was willing to be abducted, was I serious? I think I am. I think I would be more than happy to explore space and see what life is like out there and to meet visitors from other dimensions or other planets. And like many of you have wondered, how do we do that? How do we instigate that communication when there are people like James Gilliland from the Yeseti Ranch and so many others that have claimed that they can continually speak with aliens? Whitley Strieber has had continued contact. Some of us are very intrigued by it. Some of us absolutely horrified, terrified by this. So fair warning, we are going to talk to somebody who has had this kind of connection. If you are easily triggered by that, and this is not your cup of tea, then perhaps join us next week when we talk about cups of tea. No, we're not going to do that either. But let us get to our guest now, ladies and gentlemen, joining us live, Lily Nova. Lily, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It is great to meet you and be here.
Thank you. So again, and I don't want to put you under any harsh spotlight, but like I said, talking to people that claim to be channels has been a strange experience for me. And I want to get into your backstory and history on this, but with that element of what you do, how unsettling or how paradigm shifting was that for you to open up to?
Yeah, it was very jarring at first, very, very jarring. So I was not into UFOs before I started having these experiences. I'd never seen a ghost. I'd never seen a UFO. I'd never had any sort of alien experience. I was open-minded and I've always loved space. I've always felt like kind of a deeper calling to deeper topics. Like what happens after death? Where do we come from? Who made the pyramids? Things like
Right.
that. I've always been interested in those types of things, or, just kind of intuitively knew that there was more to be discovered there. But I didn't anticipate, I wasn't, like a big like UFO nerd or anything like that whenever this started happening. This was so I feel like my case is pretty unique in this way because I was minding my own business. I started getting into astrophotography, so space photography, where I would take pictures of the night sky, of the Milky Way, of the moon, of even other galaxies. I have tons of space photography, and some of it's on my website if you guys uh, care to like look into that. Um, so while I was out there, this is during COVID. While I was out there, I started spending every single night out there. And then after a couple months of that, then that's whenever I had my first experience. And it was very jarring, very paradigm shifting. I can go into more detail about it if you'd like. But after
Most
that,
certainly. Yeah, but I also want to mention
yeah.
for our listeners, we do have a link. If you're watching live on the YouTube channel, there's a link for Lily Nova, her websites. It's her Linktree account, so you can find everything there and how to order her book as well. But yeah, I'd certainly love to know, having fallen in love with the night sky after my visits to the Assetti Ranch and seeing the beauty of what it really looks like. Because I grew up in the Chicagoland area and have moved to the Twin Cities where we have so much light pollution. I really can't enjoy the stellar sky that is above us. But going out to Trout Lake, Washington, almost 18 years ago was absolutely astounding to me. I'd never seen a sky like that before. Seeing the ribbon of the Milky Way across the sky, and the sky was alive. It was almost like looking into the ocean, the depths of the ocean, and seeing fish or things moving around that you weren't familiar with. That was really, really impressive to me. So obviously, you have that same kind of love and fascination for beyond our realm of the planet Earth. What did you start to notice when you were doing the photography?
Mhm. Yeah, you explained it pretty well. It is like just like a giant ocean of stars. And whenever, sorry, my cat just brought a ball in here.
That's fine.
um,
We appreciate cats in this household, so we're good.
uh, yeah, it was just mind blowing. So you can drive about an hour out from the city, from your city, to go see the Milky Way, and it just blew my mind. So I fell absolutely in love with it, and then I just wanted to explore it. Like, and you can actually take pictures of this. This is crazy.
Mhm.
Through a big lens. I had a 300 millimeter lens, so it's like putting a little telescope on your camera. You could see, you take a bunch of photos and you stack them together, but you can see these deep space objects that are super far away, and they're absolutely beautiful. So I just fell madly in love with it. I was not expecting to have any other visitors appear while I was doing this. So as they started appearing, I actually started capturing evidence with my camera.
Now, when you
Yeah.
say visitors appearing, are we talking about craft or are we talking about beings?
Uh, UFOs, it was UFOs
Okay.
or UFOs. And then as time went on, I began receiving a communication from them in through telepathic vision. So they would send me like visions of what they looked like, so then I could see them. And as I developed, I can now see them not physically manifested in front, but these beings are from other dimensions, higher dimensions. So now I can see them often in another dimension, if that makes sense.
Like, hey, I'm not here to judge what makes sense or not. It's everybody's experience.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
fascinated by it. You say it so passively and it's funny to me, and I'm sure many of the listeners, you're like, oh yeah, then they telepathically send me messages and I can see them. I'm sure that wasn't your first basic reaction, right? When you started having
Mhm.
messages and started seeing things, walk us
Mhm.
through what that was like for you, please.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was really crazy. In the beginning, it was very much like physical, physically seeing the craft. So I'll briefly share my first ever UFO experience. It was, I'm in the suburbs. It was late at night. I was going on a space photography trip the next night at about 1:50 a.m. I felt called to go outside and look at the stars before bed. And whenever I went out there, I looked up at the stars like I always do, and then I link eyes with a craft, a light. It looked like a big bright light that was just kind of moving around slightly. And then
Mhm.
I was investigating it for a minute, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird. It's not like a star or a planet. It's too big. It's moving, but there's no blinking light, so it's not like a normal aircraft, and it's moving in a circular, like the cliche hovering motion. So I
Mhm.
realized I think this might be a UFO. So I pulled out my phone, I started recording it, and then I got just kind of this orange light appeared down the street that drew my attention. And then whenever I looked back, a second craft, much larger, it was a diamond shape, and I could see the lights going across it, had appeared seemingly out of thin air, much closer, and I was the only one around, so it was like it was looking straight at me, and it moved around all kinds of crazy, and then it started coming straight for me, and disappeared above my head. So that was my first encounter, and I was literally like shaking whenever it started coming towards me because that was too close for comfort. That wasn't just a light off on the horizon. That was a diamond-shaped craft, maybe like 4 or 5 houses down up in the sky, and it started coming towards me. So that's when I realized, holy crap, uh, that wasn't normal. And none of our aircraft can move the way that it did, and it just kind of blinked out, like it went into another dimension, or it went really fast, um, at insane speed, which we can't do. So that got me kind of shook up. I was a bit nervous after that because it happened right outside my house. I didn't know what their intentions were. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then about 2 months later, but I started researching because I'm like, I need to know what I saw.
Right.
So I
And
started.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is eerily similar to the experience Dan Aykroyd had, where he kept feeling the pull to go outside and look into the sky, and he kept fighting it and ended up staying in bed. And then it turned out there was this huge UFO sighting over the area that he lived in, and he really regretted not going out and looking when he felt that pull. When you mention that, can you? And I don't mean to reel you back too much, but
Mhm.
when you feel like I should go out and look at the sky, did that feel like Lily Nova's thoughts telling her to do this, or did it feel transcendent, like something was beckoning you?
That time, it didn't feel too much out of the ordinary. Um, but I have had other times where it definitely felt like something else was telling me. But
Mhm.
it was just kind of like an urge, like a
Mhm.
random urge to do that. So it wasn't like super obnoxious, but you see that a lot, and that's them communicating telepathically, even though you can't hear words. Uh, that's them kind of calling you, like, if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete and utter sense.
Yeah.
I, for listeners' sake, because I don't want them to just think I'm going idly by and blinded to talk about this. After I had my vision of the UFO in the skies over Trout Lake, Washington, the many different craft, but the big one, uh, James Gilliland, the
Mhm.
owner of the Assetti Ranch, told me, he said, now that they know you're watching, Dave, they're going to make themselves known to you. And when I was flying home that weekend, it was
Mhm.
late at night and I'm flying in the sky and I could see the Big Dipper outside the window. And I remember being told to just keep watching. And I started thinking, okay, he said you can hear me. He
Mhm.
said that now he'll let you, now you'll let me see you more.
Mhm.
I'm right up in the sky. The sky I've been staring at for the last 3 days. Why don't
Mhm.
you show me something? And within seconds, this ball of light came arcing across the sky, went into what I call the scoop of the Big Dipper, and stopped like on a dime. It went
Mhm.
and then took off like a bat out of hell. And I had my face pressed against that window like William Shatner in the Twilight Zone. And I'm pivoting around, praying somebody else was awake, looking out the window,
Yeah.
dead silent all the way back through the plane. That was shocking to me. But I felt A, compelled to look, and B, felt like just call out. And that's what I did. And I saw the light, a ball of light that came into that space. I can't explain it. I still can't explain it to this day.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
incredible. It defies all logic what they can
Mhm.
do, and it's instant because what I discovered, and I was studying the science of consciousness. I've always
Mhm.
been interested in, how the mind works and consciousness and topics like that. I was studying that before I started having these experiences, and
Mhm.
as I went along, I realized how important that is, that's a part of it. So we're all connected through consciousness because essentially we're all one,
Right.
and we kind of so we're all connected.
Mhm.
So if you call out to them, send a message telepathically, even if you don't know if they're listening, they can do incredible things instantly to show you that they are there. And that's mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I wanna cover real quick, since the name of the episode is CE5,
Uh-huh.
contact. I do wanna just cover real quickly. A CE5, or close encounter of the fifth kind, involves direct interaction with unknown entities. The concept comes from J. Allen Hynek's classification system detailed in his book, The UFO Experience: A Scientific Inquiry. And for people that are relatively new to this, CE1 is visual sighting of a UFO within 500 feet. CET is close observation with physical effects, such as traces left behind. CE3 is a visual observation of UFOs along with their occupants. And then CE4 is abduction by entities. CE5 is the direct communication between humans and the unknown entities. So those are the different explanations for each one of those levels. So I just wanted to put that out there early on in the show.
Mhm.
Now you've had this experience, your mind is open, you were told to go outside, you go, you look, you see, you have this aha moment for yourself.
Mhm.
What happens to your everyday life
Mhm.
having seen what you've just seen and experiencing that moment?
Mhm. Well, I tried telling people about it, and I was met with a lot of skepticism, and people didn't believe me. So that
Mhm.
was really discouraging. And then I was like, well, maybe I was just seeing stuff. And then I realized, or maybe I don't know. I realized I had actually was recording on my phone, and you can see the hovering light. It was dark, so the footage isn't great. And then you can see the other one appear. It just looks like a light. You can't see it as the diamond craft because it was so dark, and it moves exactly how I remember. And I was like, no, I really saw that. I caught it on
Mhm.
camera. So then um, I thought maybe it could have been a one-off thing, but I started doing my research. The second experience I had, it was so in your face that my curiosity, I was like, okay, now I need to get to the bottom of this, and I need to document it on camera because nobody believes me. So I need to prove, and this is the most important discovery of all time, or modern
Right.
human history, that we are
Right.
not alone. That's huge. So that
Right.
was yeah, so that was my thought process. Now I wanna document it so that I can prove, and I want people to know. And this is before UFOs were all in the news. Now, and I that was also another reason why I knew, okay, oh crap, this is really happening, because after my second experience, which I spent the night at a park surrounded by UFOs, and I just spent the night recording them. Yeah. I talk
Okay.
I go into detail about that in the book. Craziest Whenever that happened, I was like, "Okay, I need to, go public about this." So I made new social media accounts, and I shared some of the footage, and I was trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Um, and then after that, I started experiencing weird things, like 13 or 14 weird things over the period of 2 weeks. And it's like they were almost like following me, like they were calling to me, and I'm like, "What do you guys want? Are you trying to show me something? Do you want me to uh, record this?" Because it also seemed like they wanted me to record footage of it.
Mhm.
Um, so that's where it went.
All right, let me ask you something then, because you're
Mhm,
in a unique position. There are many people that have been in the same spot you are, where they are called to the UFOs.
mhm,
James Gilliland, the Prophet Yahweh out of Las Vegas, and many other very colorful personalities
mhm,
who have had experiences with UAPs, UFOs, alien beings, and it seems like they're like, no, by all means, we are here. Take a picture, videotape, whatever you want, prove that we're here. But then later they give information that doesn't come true. And
mhm,
it's like they give something and allow part of their secret to be revealed, but then in a way they kind of disavow you with other information, and has made a
mhm,
lot of these people end up looking like fools later on when
Mhm.
they, say, "Hey, my friends have spoken to me. They're going to make an appearance over Las Vegas on the 4th of July, and it's going to be
Mhm.
in force. We're going to see them," and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they're so willing to allow you and others to film and see them, and
Mhm.
then in some instances where they communicate with you of, "This is where we'll be. We're going to make ourselves known," it doesn't happen, and
Mhm.
they fail the medium or the communicator, in
Mhm.
falsifying that information.
Mhm. Well, I'd be very careful about dates, specific dates, because things can also shift and change. So, like the beings that I've communicated with, they've given me heads up about some things, but like not really like specific dates because things are always shifting, and that's just a potential. There are tons of potentials that could happen depending on what's going on. And there are also other spiritual entities who may be giving false information on purpose. I discovered that that's also a thing, other paranormal um, things. So you have to be mindful of that.
Okay. Now, do you believe that the beings and the craft that you're seeing are from out there, or are they interdimensional, meaning that they're right here, but they're just a step over into another realm?
Yeah, I think they are right here, but a step into another realm. Um, Even that first time, and I didn't know anything really about, like, dimensions or
Mhm.
or UFOs at all that first night. Whenever it flew over and then it was gone in an instant, I intuitively knew it either shot straight up at insane speed or it popped into another dimension. And then as I started kinda, like, researching this, I realized, "Oh, other dimension," and we can't see, we're three-dimensional beings. So, like,
Right.
a fourth, fifth dimensional being, they're going to, we may not always see them. So, yeah, I think there are even beings and, ships all over the place. We just don't see them unless they change their frequency and kinda dip into our dimension so that we can see them.
That's a great way to say that. They change their frequency
Mhm.
to allow themselves to be visually, uh, seen or witnessed. And how stupid, after all these years, I hadn't thought of that evolution of it, and I'm sure other people will say, "Dave, how can you not have?" But you're right, that
Mhm.
makes much more sense of maybe they're not there one second, gone the next. They're still there, they're just no longer in the visible spectrum. It also makes sense with part of the experience I had when looking up at the night sky in Trout Lake, Washington, and I saw this light going over us. I took the very expensive military grade night vision goggles and looked up. And when I looked up through the night vision, I could see a huge triangle. I mean, massive triangle with the light on the end and on each side as it was moving through the sky. But when I pull it down, all I could see was that ball of light. It was like the only thing that was visible was the ball of light at the front of it, not the entire craft behind it. And I turned and said, "You got to see this." And I was there filming an episode of Paranormal State, and one of the camera guys thought I was screwing with him, but he took the camera, and they were like, "Oh my god!" And they were trying to get it on their cameras and couldn't see it. It was
Mhm.
very weird.
That's incredible, and that brings up another really great point, in what I discovered as I was filming them and kind of developing a relationship and seeing how they could manifest.
Hmm.
Uh, so the cameras and different types of cameras can pick up different spectrums of light that our
Right.
eyes can't see. Which is that's why, like, even with, like, ghosts or other paranormal, like, orbs and stuff, a lot of time
Mhm.
you'll capture it on video, but you don't see it with your eyes, or you take a picture and you capture a bunch. ETs and UFOs are the same way.
All right. Now, once you've opened up to this, and I got to guess, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Did you just accept the experience that you'd had, or did you question it and question your own rationale?
Well, of course, I questioned a lot. I'm like, "Wow," because this is crazy. Like, is this happening everywhere? Like, why is this happening to me? And, like, no, I wasn't in the UFO community or spiritual community before this, so I didn't have anybody to talk to,
Mhm.
about it. I didn't know that other people were also, like, experiencing this. Um, but then there was also a very, very deep calling and curiosity to where I just needed to learn more. So I would spend nights going out with my camera, driving around saying, "Hey, I know you're up there, show yourselves," just to see, just to learn about them. Sometimes I
Mhm.
thought I was being kind of sneaky, and I would go places. I'm like, I don't know if they know, that I'm here, but I'm going to try and capture them. As that developed, then I started initiating contact with them openly in a relationship that developed, but that's how it started.
A lot of the people agreeing with the words you're saying tonight, and
Awesome.
the way that these beings make themselves known. Um, I want, and we're going to go into a little bit more with the experiences you've had and
Mhm.
how you began channeling these beings, what kind of impact that's had on your life as well. But
Okay.
I'm curious, are you ever worried that you are being tricked or
Mhm.
deceived by something demonic as
Mhm.
opposed to something elevated and interdimensional?
Yeah. So in the beginning, the experiences, so there are all different types of beings all over the spectrum,
Mhm.
just like there are humans. So there are like good humans and bad humans, also. So it's basically just like that. A majority of these beings are very benevolent and high vibrational. And whenever, this is before I knew that, I just kind of like, I trusted where I was being guided in that
Mhm.
curiosity. And it felt just very expansive and lightning. I got very positive feelings from it. And as I started doing CE5 more and connecting with them more, I would feel overwhelming love to where I would be like in tears because it was such a beautiful, blissful, like loving feeling. I don't have any kids, but I guess it would be kind of like a mother and their child, like just a very deep love, very unconditional love. Um, and then as my psychic abilities started activating, and I did start seeing other things because there are
Mhm.
things all over the spectrum. Um, so I learned how to put up kind of precautions to avoid those types of things, like negative
Okay.
things.
Did you
For
have any encounters with negative beings?
I did. It was whenever I started, like some of the first ones, it was whenever I started using a pendulum. And I would use that to help me kind of communicate with the ETs, the star beings, as I was developing kind of my subtle senses to be able to understand them better.
Mhm.
Um, and something else started coming through and communicating with me and kind of getting me riled up and angry and upset. And then I realized oh shit, I'm not talking to the ETs that I'm communicating with. This is something else. And it
Mm.
it it like feeds off of your lower frequency. If you're in a low vibe, like a bad vibe state, like you're super angry or, whatever, just not in a good state, you can attract those types of things. Don't be fearful of attracting those types of things, but just be aware of what state you're in. And I was just kinda opening the door for whatever to communicate. I hadn't learned, like, proper, like, hygiene,
Right. I
you
like
know?
that word, yeah.
Yeah, paranormal, spiritual hygiene, you don't wanna just kinda let anything in. So, I learned some lessons along the way, that has been very helpful. Be specific with what you want to communicate with who you want to communicate with, beings of love and light, and be in a positive state, don't be in a super fearful or angry state and say, "Alright, I wanna talk to whatever," because you're gonna attract something of a lower level.
That's great advice. I love that. I'm curious, and again, just your insights on this, having been able to communicate, do you believe the things that we perceive as alien beings or interdimensional beings,
Mhm.
are those the same things that we perceive to be angels and demons?
Mhm.
Are they the bad and the good beings that coexist? Because I would guess that being as powerful as they are and
Mhm.
omnipresent, that it to very basic uh humankind, they could attribute these things to something holy
Mhm.
or unholy as
Yeah.
opposed to otherworldly.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like that has been a big theme throughout humanity, thinking that that's what it is. And there
Mhm.
is that too. I've also had experiences with angels, and they're different because they haven't like lived on, other planets. It's just a different dimensional reality. So I think it all exists. But I could see how, like some of these ETs, especially like ones from these really higher dimensions. They may look like light or like they're glowing, which could make them look like angels.
Very cool. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll come back. We've got a brand new pair of tunes that fits into tonight's element so perfectly, and Lily Nova has agreed to allow us to share some of her time with the Parashare song. So stay tuned. We've got a couple of commercials and a quick break. We'll come back, Paratune rather, and then more with Lily Nova right here on the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader, and thank you for listening to the Paranormal 60. The Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond is back and bigger than ever at Oaks Amusement Park, Saturday, June 29th. Meet Bigfoot hunters like Ronnie LeBlanc of Discovery Channel's Expedition Bigfoot and Paranormal Caught on Camera, and paranormal investigators like me, Dave Schrader of the Holzer Files and the Paranormal 60 podcast. Join us for a day of family fun celebrating Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, and everything beyond. You never know what you'll find. Don't miss the Oregon Bigfoot Festival and Beyond, Saturday, June 29th at Oaks Amusement Park. Get tickets today at OregonBigfootFest.com. OregonBigfootFest.com.
The Oregon Bigfoot Festival. Oregon Bigfoot Festival.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. My guest is Lily Nova. Her book is out and available. Contact, an incredible true story of contact with beings from another world and spiritual awakening. Lily Nova, our guest. We have a link for Lily on the website and right here on today's program guide. So you can find her link tree, find her book, find her website, find her YouTube channel and program as well. So go check all of that out. But right now,
it's time now for Paratunes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I love it when the universe aligns and a musician reaches out to me with a song that seems to fit so eloquently into the moment. And even with the title of the song, it wasn't what I expected, but I hope that you'll enjoy it. This is from Gwyneth Hollow from her debut album that's out now. It's called Incantation. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Music.
It's so dark in here, all light and hope has disappeared, and it's left me sitting all alone. If it's hell remains unknown, my memory of what went down seems to have forsaken me. I remember my day, but not what happened to get me here. I find no comfort in the shadows, no solace in the serenity. Every answer has other questions as the fear becomes my identity. Who has taken me? Prison sentence. I find no comfort in the shadows, no
All right, we are back, and that again, for those of you just tuning in, was Gwyneth Hollow, Gwyneth Hollow, and there'll be a link up for her on the program guide as well. Her new album, Incantation, is available on Spotify and Apple Music, so go check that out. Thank you so much to Gwyneth Hollow for sending in that song. All right, Lily, we're back. Let's start diving into these abilities to not only see and experience these beings, and I know that you said a lot of it is telepathic or visionary versions. Do you believe that you have been in the physical presence? Have you seen flesh and blood alien creatures in your presence as well?
It's really interesting. So as I developed, and also my frequency is rising, so I'm able
Mhm.
to perceive their dimension better because I'm, they're on this frequency, so I'm like kind of meeting them up there. Um, I not like fully manifested flesh and blood, but in other ways, and I feel they have to lower their frequency in order to do that, and it can be tough on their bodies. Um, but
Well, I was
so
going to ask you about that. Is it tough on
Mhm.
you when you get done having a moment of communication to kind of come back down to human level? Does it take its toll on you?
Uh, there have been days where I'm so exhausted, like all I can do is sleep. So
Yeah.
yeah, it can
That's
be
just
very
called getting old, Lily. I'm sorry. It's just going to get worse for you.
yeah, it can be a toll, and I've had times where I felt so much like energy surging through my body. It's pretty crazy. And feeling like sensations on my body. But so how I see them more is like um almost kind of like through like a sometimes I'll see like a portal window kind of opening up, and then I can see them with my eyes open, but they're not like physical. But then I've also had this happen quite a few
So
times.
it's almost like you're watching them through a hologram or through a,
Yeah.
a, a TV that kind of opens in front of you. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's happened. It's happened quite a few times. Yeah. So I think that's easier for them, more convenient, and probably easier for me because I don't know. I feel like flesh and blood ET, it's still gonna like kind of freak you out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if they're just one in your room.
Yeah.
Um, and also whenever I've had these experiences where I can like see them, kind of see into their dimension around me, I've actually felt them physically touch me though. But
Hmm.
they're not like completely flesh and blood manifested, but they can still interact with this reality and touch me.
Do you ever feel that they overstep boundaries with you?
No, I've been
I ask
really
that
blessed.
because many women feel that they've been harvested
Yeah.
and very
Mhm.
uncomfortable things have gone on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then there's also different factions
Mhm,
of extraterrestrials, so with different agendas, so it
mhm.
depends on which faction is messing with you. I'd like to mention if anybody's experiencing that, you can say, "I do not consent." Tell
Oh,
them,
really?
yeah, "I do not consent. You have to leave." If you feel like something weird is going on, tell them. Say that.
Okay.
Try it out. Um, but the beings that I've interacted with I've been very blessed. They've been, very respectful.
Respectful. Okay. All right. Now you have witnessed these things, seen these things. Have you been with friends or relatives that have been able to witness these beings with you?
Mhm. You know, some friends can see them, yes. I just got back from the Rebels of Disclosure conference. That was all
Right.
last week from Journey to Truth podcast. They got kicked off of YouTube. Now they're on Rumble. But it was fantastic, and there was a lot of experiencers there. So yeah, there was people seeing Bigfoot, seeing all kinds of
Mhm.
crazy stuff. So those people out of my family, not so much, but my mother, she has had a UFO experience, and she also had a dream where she was in a ship. And I don't think that was a dream. I think that was a memory.
Lily, are you a starseed? Do you think you're a child of space?
Yeah, after investigating this and having all these experiences, it took me about 6 months for me to realize that I was what's known as a starseed. Yes.
How does that affect you
Mhm.
on your journey? I mean, it's enough to just live a human life, but to know that there may be some alien aspect of who you are. And I
Mhm.
I ask that because I just and it's again strange that our timing overlapped like this to have you come on the show. I just admitted openly a few weeks ago that growing up, I very much had the feeling that this is not where I began,
Yeah.
that I have come from somewhere else. Um, Not necessarily star seed, but in the genetically there's some connection, whether it's soul or something
Yeah.
that I've not always been here.
Right.
And that was a weird thing that I had to put away for a long time in my life because I just, you talk to friends about it and they would look at you like you were a two-headed alien. And I just stopped talking about it. I buried it and left it alone until, the last five,
Mhm.
6 years when I've talked to just a few specific friends about it. But what is it like for you to have that realization that you have beginnings elsewhere?
Yeah. Well, at first it was hard for me to believe. It sounded a bit out there, but I had to process it. But then I realized, oh my God, like growing up, I felt different. I was never in with kind of like the typical crowd. I've always just felt different and thought differently. So then it began to make sense. I've always felt like the black sheep. I've always been more intuitive and can kind of understand things from a
Mhm.
different lens than kind of the mainstream. So then it began to make sense. And then I started discovering a bunch of other people uh, who know that they are star seeds and a lot of information. So it just started to make sense. It was a bit of a process, but it was definitely jarring at first. But then it makes sense. I mean, we are old souls. We are
Mhm.
eternal. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just gets recycled into different
Mhm.
forms. So like our souls, our essence, are we going to just live one life and then that's it? No. We
No.
go through and well, I wasn't sure at first, but in my investigating and exploring, I realized, oh my gosh, that's not the end. We go on and we have these different lifetimes. So essentially, starseeds, they're old souls, and there are trillions of other planets, habitable planets in our galaxy, I'm sure, and other galaxies, trillions of other galaxies. So there's bound to be life, and maybe you were living on another planet before this.
And I'd certainly like to hear from you in the comments below. If you're watching the YouTube live program, please make sure to drop some information in there. What are your thoughts on this star seeds of people coming from other places, or perhaps even our souls being incarnated into human form? Do you believe that you are one? Do you believe that you were one? Or is this all nonsense? Let's have a conversation about it in today's program guide. And then for the rest of you, you can email me, Dave at paranormal60.com. Maybe you're still on the fence or unsure or don't want to put yourself out there publicly yet, but you'd like to talk about it and get it off your chest. You can certainly reach out to me at Dave at paranormal60.com. Um,
Mhm.
Doing the channeling, how did that open up to you?
Mhm, and I would also like to add real quick, and I
Yeah,
see
please.
some of my beautiful friends in the chat, so thank you guys for, being here. But more and more people, like, so many people are waking up to this and discovering this about themselves and discovering who we truly are as a
Mhm.
species. It may feel very lonely and isolating right now, but, we gotta meet each other online through YouTube channels, communities, whatever, and it's just continuing to grow. And we're creating a ripple effect that is waking up more and more people. It's shifting the consciousness of the planet. Uh, so just hang in there. Like more and more people are, they may think we were crazy like 2 years ago, I guess 4 years ago now. Some of my family thought I was kind of crazy. Now I've got the tickets and receipts to back everything up. Things are changing and I'm not crazy anymore. This is what I do. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I appreciate that. And, we have to stand for ourselves because it is easy from the outside to shoot slings and arrows and disclaim things that don't fit your paradigm. And
Mhm.
so many people uh, come from that same spot of skepticism, which is totally fine and acceptable. But you know, you also have to remember to remain open, because the experience doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean it's not valid. There are a lot of things that if I went over to a third world country and told them about, they may not believe exist in today's civilization. Even going back 20 years, telling people some of the things that we could do and are getting closer to may sound like Star Wars science fiction to them. So it's always, I think, important, and that's why we try to maintain a nice community here with our darklings, of people that can come together, talk about this, be open, and not fear judgment. I can't I can't tell you Lily Nova's crazy. I can't tell you that because her experiences happen and she channels aliens that she's insane, because that isn't what happens for me. Doesn't mean that that isn't a reality. It just means that it isn't something that I've gotten to yet. So talking about that, there are many people here that would like to have that contact.
Mm.
What do you recommend to people that say, Lily, I want to connect with aliens? First of
Mhm.
all, is that something all of us should try to do, or should people be very cautious in making that attempt?
I think you want to be specific, and you want to have pure intentions. Don't do it just for like a party trick, that
Right.
you want to see them, because they can sense your intentions. So, coming from the heart and an open mind, and just like you did, you were like, "I've been looking at the sky. Can you show me, if you're there?" And then they did it. That's a great first step. Just asking them to show you a sign, taking the time to look up at the stars, connect with the stars. That's what I was doing for months straight before I had my first experience, and it's a great way to connect. And then also, just being specific. I'd like to connect or say hello to benevolent beings.
Mhm.
And if you are there, can you show me a sign? So, I
For
think.
people that are having trouble with it, and I'm watching in the chat too, as people are like, "No, they're definitely demons. Don't engage. Don't engage." I think
Mhm.
it's silly to assume that God, if you believe in religion and in a God would stop with one planet full of hairless monkeys, right? Why not create more as an artisan? You see the
Mhm.
sky image behind me and around us. Why would all of these lights and solar systems exist if there was only life on one planet? That's very egotistical, very
Mhm.
arrogant to assume. And to assume that all things are evil because they're not like us is incorrect. That's an ideology we need to get away from, even amongst our own people. Um, so be open to these concepts. And, for those of you that feel that everything that is in this circle is part of the darkness, if you are a believer and you believe in God, I wouldn't believe God would create just one planet of living beings and not
Mhm.
allow us to interact with other levels. I think that's a lot of what they're talking about in the Bible is, they believe the Ark of the Covenant was a resonance filter and something that allowed them to communicate or perhaps even open rifts and allow transmissions back and forth between dimensions. There are a lot of different elements of the Bible that resonate in different ways with people. And I think it's important to keep our minds open to these possibilities, at least, without throwing a blanket on it and saying, "Oh, it's a demon." And I understand if that's your comfort level. And
Mhm.
I hope that you find a way to elevate so that you're not living in that resonance of fear and living in that resonance of short-sightedness,
Mhm.
because sometimes the things that we fear most really turn out to be some of the most amazing moments in our life.
Yeah. And I'd also like to add, we are powerful creators and manifestors. Even before any of this happened, I always felt very strongly and knew it in my heart that we create our reality. What we are focusing on, what we believe to be true, is going to shape the reality we are experiencing. So if you think that everything is negative or everything is demons and there's no positive, beings out there, then that's probably what you're going to experience, because
Right.
that's what you closed, your sight to. That's all you're focusing on. So
Or
that's,
that's just
that's
the way
why.
you will perceive it. If you automatically ascribe that every black person is evil, when you see them, you're going to have the fear factor. You can't do
Yeah.
those things with humanity or the other levels. I've talked about that for years on the show here with the spirit realm. It's easy to be in a place of fear, but
Mhm.
to me it's much more freeing to take that fear and flip it around in the moment that's unsettling to me, to say, "Oh, okay, I've just had contact." Instead of running out frightened, you've got my attention. What can we do? Let's keep this communication going, but you don't have to do it in that way. And that's why I think I've had some really great results with talking to spirits and communicating that way, just like you. Hey, you've got my attention. What do you want to share? And the information that you get is not an information of, Lily, you should get your followers to drink this poison Kool-Aid with me. You're not getting negative or damning information. You're getting positive and enlightened information, correct?
Right. Yeah. It's not like they don't have an agenda. Yeah, the information I'm getting, if anything tells you to do anything that like you're like, that's kind of then I mean, that's not, they don't have good intentions and they're
Right.
manipulating you. So you really have to have discernment, like, because there's so much, going on out there, and the media is lying and all this is lying and they say this, they say that. So you really have to discernment and kind of feel in your heart. But yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That was beautifully said.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about communication. If people
Mhm.
want to, and I know that you've got information on your website as well,
Yeah.
and we have a link for that again in today's program guide. So please go check out Lily Nova's link tree and all of the great links and find out ways to keep in touch with her and follow the work that she's doing. And make sure not only to buy her book, but if you like the book, rate and review it as well on Amazon. But let's go into how can people start even tonight in
Mhm.
setting that intention for communication.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, in the book, I go into very much detail about all of this, and there's even like
Right.
a how to make contact guide at the end, and I talk a lot about it on my YouTube channel too. Uh, First step is setting the intention, and being specific about what your intention is. That's
Mhm.
super important, because that gives, it's like you can't hit an arrow in a bullseye or land at what you want if you don't have like a target named. So you putting your eye on a target, then that's where it goes. So setting the intention, I would like to make contact, or have some sort of a sign, if you're up there, from benevolent beings. Just say, benevolent beings, and so and then asking, if you're up there, can you please show me a sign? Coming at it from kind of like a curious, um, mindset, not a fearful mindset. If they're afraid, or if you are afraid, then they will not show up. The benevolent beings, they won't mess with you. So they are really respectful, and they won't give you too much than you can handle. There are some, circumstances uh, with other, sort of things out there,
Right.
but with what you want to connect with, they won't give you more than you can handle. They eased me into this over a period of like a year plus, and I'm still learning and growing each and every day. So that being said, setting the intention, asking, and then stargazing is great. Spending
Now, can I
time.
ask you too? I would
Mhm.
guess, coming at it from the ghost world and the research that I've done, one thing that always impressed me about Mark and Debbie Constantino, who were EVP specialists in this
Mhm.
field, electronic voice phenomena, they set their intention, and let's say 2 to 3 p.m. every day, they sat at the same table, they turned on the same recorder, they engaged. Going out once or twice and saying, "Hey, if you're there,
Yeah, yeah.
show me," that's not it. Seeing the repetitive nature, seeing the engagement that you're putting into this, it may take a while, I would guess, for
Mhm.
them to take you seriously. But do
Mhm.
you think that there is something to that? That once, if you set aside specific times and that you keep doing it, you don't just expect it on the first or fifth or third
Mhm.
try or whatever. You got to keep doing it and
Mhm.
letting them see that you're serious about what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. So I was doing this every day for a while. Um, I would I would go out and stargaze at night,
Mhm.
often, but then it kind of moved into sunset. So then I would go out at sunset and film the clouds and the sky and stuff, and also set the intention to make contact. And as I started doing that, they already knew the drill. They were already there
Hmm.
at sunset. So sunset's a really great time. I would just go out, spend some time outside, watch the sunset, connect. Um, and yeah, so the timing's good, and consistency. Yeah, because you want to show them it's not like a party trick, for example. Like
Mhm.
you don't want to just see them just to see them. Like you're really putting in an effort in working towards it. And if you do that, you will be amazed at the beauty that you can experience. Meditation is another really great way, and that's mostly how I channel. Is I channel activations and meditations. Um, to help people connect with these beings, positive, various different types of ETs, angels, archangels, Sasquatch. I just did a Sasquatch video right before I hopped on this, where we did an activation at the end to help everybody connect with the Sasquatch, a local Sasquatch clan in Grafton, Illinois, that I met over last week. But
Wait a minute, you met a Sasquatch?
I met a Sasquatch clan. Now I saw them again, like as kind of like energetic silhouettes,
Okay.
and I could feel them. There were two people there at the conference who actually saw them physically, though. One of them saw 'em running behind from one tree to another, and then another one saw one pop out, peek from behind a tree. So they can.
Amazing.
But they're in another dimension too. Literally, whenever I saw them, they were like surrounding in a protective way, surrounding our bonfire, and I could just see them standing there.
And it's interesting, you talked earlier about sometimes the aliens showing you themselves through like a window or doorway.
Yeah.
And we just have talked about this recently about some Bigfoot sightings that seem to be in these portals that will shudder and move along with the Bigfoot as they walk, giving you a view like you're looking out a door into the wilderness and seeing it move, but it's changing as it moves. So that's really interesting as well. So on your recent episode, people can go, and at the end you show them how to try to communicate and connect with Sasquatch as well.
Yeah, it's about an hour and 20 something minute. We share some of the experiences, go into details about it, and then like the last like 20-30 minutes is a guided to help you connect with them. That's a great way to connect with our energies. So that's like my specialty, helping people connect with these higher dimensional beings. That's how I channel. So I channel those energies. I'm not like, one's not taking over my body and speaking through me. It's not like that. They guide me how to just channel their energies, and people have had very profound experiences and contact experiences. Sometimes they'll see UFOs, sometimes they'll see visions, sometimes they'll feel sensations. So meditations are great. My activations are great because that's specifically what they're made for. So they can help you do that. But yeah, it was just on my YouTube channel.
Let me mention James Weston says it's been about 20 years and I still try occasionally. I'm just not good enough for them, I guess. Well, James, first of all, that shouldn't be the attitude you carry into anything. I'm just not good enough. I don't think that's how it works. And, you know, there may be other things in your life or in play that are causing blockages and stress and things that may keep you from having that or even noticing what you're looking for. We expect this is what we want to see, and if we don't see that exact message, we don't see that exact representation, a lot of times we dismiss it. So could it be that you've been too limited? But don't start buying into the fact I'm not good enough, they don't want me, blah blah blah. And I'm not trying to belittle you at all on this, James. I hope you understand that, but you have to remain in a positive place and continue to do so. And maybe they'll find other ways to make themselves known to you, not just flying in the skies over your home. Maybe there are other elements of it that you're dismissing or haven't taken notice of, or you might even consider going in for a hypnotic regression, and you may find that you've been having experiences, but your brain is shutting them out, which seems to happen to quite a few people that have had these kind of experiences as well. Lily, is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of us are having experiences we are not aware of.
Mhm.
Also, and yeah, you do block yourself by expecting it to just be this way. Like if you are expecting it, oh, they're not there if they don't, a Sasquatch doesn't just walk right up to me in physical form, or a UFO just shows up. They've communicated with me through really strange methods. The Sasquatch, they can do knocks. They can
Mhm.
break branches. They can do certain like howls or certain kind of like sounds, vocalizations. The ETs, I've had them like turn stars like on and off. It looks like it's like blinking in a Morse code, and there was nothing
Right.
going in front of it. I've had, I've asked for a sign and then I see a shooting star, but then I see like again, and it's not a shooting star, it's a ship, but it keeps going. They've even made shapes in the clouds. The first one I got was literally a smiley face in the clouds. I'm like, what the heck is this? Is this even real life? This is crazy. And I
Right.
have a picture of that in my book. So it can come in many, many different ways. So just be
Right.
open to it and ask for a sign and don't block yourself. Relax.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know what? A lot of us act like we want signs. And I know Love V Love said, "Dave, don't be condescending." I'm sorry if you felt in any way I was being condescending. My point was coming from a point of love, just don't beat yourself up. Don't put yourself in a place where if you're telling yourself you're not good enough, you're not going to do this, you're not going to have that communication. I'm trying to elevate you so that you do continue to try and maybe start watching for signs in a different way.
Mhm.
Open the perspective. The aperture of the camera can only photograph what it sees. If you open the aperture, more becomes visible to you. And I think that that happens in our consciousness and in our awareness. So open those apertures and allow the opportunity to happen more. And it takes a while. It's like building a muscle. We've maybe spent a better part of our life at 56 years old. Maybe I've spent 50 years trying to put these things away because that's imagination and it's childish and those things don't exist and they're imaginary friends and they're not ghosts and they're not aliens. And we have to go through and peel back those layers of filters that we've put in front of ourselves because of other people's expectations for so long that we limit our possibilities. We have to learn to really be open to this, open-hearted and open-minded in order to have an extraordinary life. And I think that's something that's available to everyone. And I don't mean any of that in a condescending light.
Yeah, definitely. That's beautiful. And we're also just growing up on Earth, we beat ourselves up a lot, So
Mhm.
it's kind of like this program where we feel bad about ourselves or we beat ourselves up a lot or we just think kind of negatively. I had to retrain how I thought. This whole process like really helped me retrain myself, and it's been a beautiful experience. Sometimes
Uh,
it takes some work, but
right. Rebecca Codner says, "Do you think they communicate with us in dreams?"
absolutely, that's actually a fantastic way for them to communicate with you because you're in a very deep state and you're open and who knows what we're doing in our sleep state. We're like traveling the universe and in other forms. So that's something you can do. You can say, "Can you please?" You can even say star family. I love saying star family because a lot of these beings, they've known us for a very, very long time. And it just feels nice to say family because that's what they are. They are our cosmic family. So you can say, star family, can you show me a sign in a dream? Or can you give me a message in a dream? And then see what happens.
Here's a great message Lena puts up. She goes, "I'll get messages and then say, nah." And that is what a lot of us do. We want to see, we want to have this moment, but then sometimes fear creeps back in and says, no, maybe I don't. And we want to expand our consciousness, but we're afraid. We're afraid of how people are going to perceive us, how we may feel about the world, or will it shape our paradigms in a different way that makes us uncomfortable. And it's like a ghost. Three of us can be standing in a row, and a ghost could come drifting down the stairs, and one is terrified. One will not believe what they're seeing, and the other person thinks it's the most beautiful sight they've ever had the moment to see. It's in the way that you perceive those moments and where you are in your journey that probably allows you to experience it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of time we just dismiss this stuff. Like I think she was also saying like she gets messages and then she's like, nah, like, oh, they weren't talking to me or that didn't mean that. Like you kind of like ignore the messages or think that it's not really a message for you. So you can always say, can you send me another confirmation so that I know for sure? And you'll be amazed at what creative and interesting things can come up from that.
Right. And I'm watching a lot of great comments. Thank you, folks. I'm trying to put them up as we go through. I can't touch on each one of them, but for those of you watching the live video, you'll be able to see this or go back and watch it after you've heard the audio podcast version. So in setting the intention is the first and most important thing, opening yourself up to it, maybe even just trying to settle your mind and get into the frame of what you'd like to do and experience. And maybe even just like you said, maybe setting the parameters of how you want to have this experience. Don't limit Like,
Mhm.
I only want to see them on the third Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock, and they should show up to my door with a pizza. That's probably not going to happen. But if you allow yourself the opportunity and set the intention and continue to work on that, manifestation is a huge element of what we're doing. And I've seen the echoes through the universe myself. I think when you put that out enough and you come at it from a holy place of being
Mhm.
open to this, you're going to see these results eventually. Um,
Mhm.
and I like the fact that you approach it in a way of, but I'm being specific. I'm opening myself to benevolent energies, to benevolent star family that would like to come and make themselves known. And I rebuke anything that means me harm or
Mhm.
wants to do me harm. And by putting those parameters in place and then allowing the rest to kind of come in, and then using logic, right? Because if things are coming through and telling you bad things, shut it down, move away from it.
Yeah, they will never tell you something to upset you or like bad things. Yeah, they wouldn't. Um, there was something that you just reminded me of. Oh, being consistent about it too can be helpful, but also and some people in the comments were also saying, which this helped me so much, is working with your chakras or your energy centers. If you're
Mhm.
know about those, that's been incredibly profound. And sometimes you can have blocks in these energy centers that kind of prevent you from maybe experiencing, and they're always there, like
Mhm.
guides, angels, star family, whatever. They're always there. You just can't always perceive them. So you have to
Right.
kind of work on being able to perceive them, but they're always around. You are never alone, ever. Um, so working with the energy centers, and I have a bunch of like meditations and stuff on that on my channel, but that was incredibly profound. Specifically the heart, your heart, love. Source is love. These higher vibrational beings, angels or star families, they you feel them through the heart because they're love.
Mhm.
So that's focusing on love and focusing on your heart center is very helpful too.
Now, in your book, you do detail this and go into a lot more detail on how people can actually open themselves up and become more communicative with these beings.
Mhm.
Um, and you give the tips and hints to help them along on this journey as well. And you
Mhm.
could follow Lily's podcast. And again, we have a link for Lily, her link tree to all of the ways to keep up with her book, her podcast, her websites, and more. So go check those out as well and keep up with the information that way. Um, if you don't mind, before we head out, I know we're going a little long here, but I'm just curious if you could tell me a little bit about what the sense of channeling is. When people think of a
Mhm.
channel, they think of Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost with the spirits sitting down into her and
Mhm.
speaking through her.
Mhm.
Are you more like that, or are you more like a telegraph where you're getting the message and you're just speaking it, not
Mhm.
allowing something in you, but like you're just turning the radio on and receiving?
Yeah, it's more for me. It's like turning on the radio and receiving.
Mhm.
So, and there are different types of channeling. So some people actually allow like an entity to come in their body and speak through them. That's not the type of channeling I do. It's more of I receive the information, or a lot of time they'll show me visions, and those kind of come with just whatever messages or whatever, and then I relay that out.
Do you believe that these entities can help us in our healing physically, mentally, and spiritually as well?
Oh my goodness. I just had a fantastic healing experience with the Sasquatch over the week, which was crazy. So they are actually there's some healers there in the Sasquatch clans, which is incredible. But yes, my star family, the beings that I've seen, they've helped me with so many things, and I also go into detail about that in the book too. They can help you heal childhood trauma. They can help you heal, issues that you're going through now. They can help you heal anything. Of course, you got to do the work too, and you got to sit down and show that, you and ask them for help, but also put in the effort. But they can help you expedite the process very, very much.
Michelle Spence says, "Great show. More people need to be meet. More people. Words is hard. More people need to be discussing this topic." Thank you, Lily. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that, and thank you for the donation, Michelle, as well.
Thank you. I
Uh,
agree.
I would love to have you back on the show and talk more about this in the future, and maybe even incorporate allowing some of the audience members to pop on and have questions with you about dealing with these things, and opening themselves to this. As we say goodnight and we move on for the evening and apart from one another for the time being, what would you really like people to take away from the book that you've written and the podcasts that you share?
What would I like people to take away? Well, we are much more than we think we are. We have a lot of potential and we have a lot of wisdom kind of like hidden within us. We've been living very, very small. But now it's a time where these things are starting to open up and reveal themselves. People are shifting, especially over the last 4 years. So many things are changing because there is a huge shift happening on the planet. And we're going to start tapping into these other dimensions and realms that are all around us, and tapping into our true power in remembering or learning about who we truly are. So we are very powerful beings. And we are very, very loved. There's a lot of very loving energy. There's a lot of support. Yes, there is all forms of the spectrum in the paranormal and spiritual, but we have a lot of very benevolent star family that are assisting us. Think of them as like our older brothers and sisters or like our cousins. That's what it feels like.
I like that. Lily Nova, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
We'll look forward to talking to you again soon. And to thank you all for joining me on this journey. And I hope that the darkness out there is just a little more light with the information that we share here. The things that you hear may not necessarily make sense to you right now, but if you remain open to the concepts and the opportunities that life affords you, and stop limiting yourself by the limitations that other people set in front of you, you may be awakened to a really remarkable, magical world. And I know I say that a lot, and it's because I believe it. That's my intention, and I'm trying to manifest it for each and every one of you, that you get to see some of the magic that we might miss in the mundane world that we allow ourselves to live in, of getting up, brushing our teeth, having our breakfast, going to work, coming home, showering, and starting all over the next day. There's so much more to the things that we can explore, and I hope that you'll remain open to those concepts, and hopefully we'll be able to have more experiences as we go along. Thank you so much for making me part of your journey. And please share this episode, like this episode, whether you're watching the YouTube video version or the audio only version. Like it, rate and review it, and help spread the word about this program. Let our universe expand. Let the Darkling generation grow. And I'd love to see more of you interact on the program. So please reach out to me at dave@paranormal60.com. Join us on my live YouTube stream every Monday and Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. Or you can also listen wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and join the Paranormal 60 Podcast Network. We've got a lot of great programs, and I think there's going to be something right for you. And thank you all to my Darklings that show up every Wednesday, and to all of you new Darklings. You are welcome, and I hope that you found a new home that you're comfortable with. Until next time, I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60. I would also like to thank all of our star family that tuned in tonight. May you live long and prosper.